In this video, we will create a web app that runs a Docker container. The Docker container contains a welcome message. Azure App Servers are usually a collection of 4 services, all of which are built to help you host and run web applications. The 4 services, web apps, mobile apps, API apps, and logic apps, look different. But in the end, they all operate in a very similar way. Web apps are the most commonly used of the 4 services. So let's dive into it and let's create a web app. So I'm going to open up Edge, Microsoft Edge, and let's go to portal.azure.com. Now I have to sign in by entering my email address and password. Now in the All Services blade, I have to search for App Services, which is right next to Virtual Machines. So on the Basics tabs of Web App blade, we have to specify the settings. So what is the next thing? We have to create a web app. I would keep my subscription as default supplied, and the resource group would be this one. You can obviously select your required resource group. And for the name, I would go with my Docker web app. You can name anything. And the next thing would be publish. I would go with Docker container. Operating system would be Linux. Region would East US. And so I would go with next, keeping everything as a default. In the options, I'm going to use single container. You can also use Docker Compose. Then in image source, I would go with Docker Hub. However, you have multiple options to go with. And in access type, I would go with public. There are 2 options, private and public. And in image and tag, I would go with mcr.microsoft.com Azure Docs /ACI-Hello World. Okay, so the startup command is actually optional and not needed if you don't want to. So let's review and create it. Next, we would be clicking create. And it has initialized the deployment, which I can see over here. And the deployment is in progress. So it takes a few seconds and the deployment is done. I would go to resource and I would locate the URL. So let's see where the URL is. Over here, this is my default domain, which is my URL. And I would be pasting the URL in the new browser window. So there you go. I have actually successfully created my web app, and this welcome message is actually the indication for that. So this is how you can easily create Azure web app. And if you switch back to the overview blade of your web app and scroll down, you will notice several charts tracking data in and out and requests. So if you repeat step number 4 a few times, you should be able to see corresponding telemetry being displayed in these charts. So this includes number of requests and average response time. So this is how you can create web app in Azure. And in the next video,